In the quiet town of Spokane Valley, Washington, nestled amidst serene suburban neighborhoods and picturesque scenery, the Cohey family led what appeared to be an ordinary and harmonious life. Their home, a typical suburban house, exuded a sense of normalcy and tranquility. Jane and John Cohey, like many loving parents, were deeply invested in the upbringing of their son, Brian. To their neighbors and acquaintances, the Coheys epitomized the ideal American family. Brian, a 19-year-old young man, was known for his quiet demeanor and reserved nature. He was the kind of teenager who would wave politely at neighbors, but rarely engaged in extended conversation. This reticence, however, masked a profoundly disturbing secret that would eventually shock the entire community to its core. As time passed, Jane and John began to notice subtle but unsettling changes in Brian's behavior. Once an active and sociable boy, he became increasingly withdrawn and secretive. Brian began spending long hours locked away in his room, often late into the night. His interactions with his parents grew sporadic, and he seemed to be enveloped in an impenetrable shell of isolation. Concerned but wanting to respect his privacy, Jane and John chose not to press him for answers, attributing his behavior to typical teenage angst and the pressures of adolescence. However, their unease deepened with each passing day as Brian's reclusiveness seemed to intensify. The turning point came one fateful afternoon when Jane, while cleaning Brian's room, made a horrifying discovery. Tucked away in a drawer were a series of deeply disturbing drawings and writings. The images were violent and grotesque, depicting scenes of brutality and bloodshed. The writings were equally alarming, detailing plans for a heinous act with a level of precision and malice that left Jane reeling. Overcome with shock and fear, she immediately called out to John, who was equally stunned by what they found. Their hearts pounded with dread as they realized the gravity of the situation. The peaceful life they had known was about to be irrevocably shattered. Alarmed and uncertain of what to do next, Jane and John decided to contact the authorities. The local police arrived promptly and began a thorough investigation. What they uncovered was nothing short of a nightmare. Brian's room was a treasure trove of violent imagery and meticulously detailed plans for a crime that had yet to be committed. Detective Smith, who led the investigation, described the level of detail in Brian's plans as chilling and methodical. It was evident that Brian had been harboring violent fantasies for an extended period. The most horrifying discovery, however, was evidence linking Brian to the brutal murder of Andrew Watkinson, a local man who had recently been reported missing. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Brian had not only planned the crime meticulously, but had also carried it out with cold-blooded precision. Dr. Emily Turner, a forensic psychologist brought in to evaluate Brian, provided a disturbing assessment. She explained that Brian exhibited signs of severe psychological disturbance. His actions were premeditated, and the level of violence suggested a significant break from reality. The meticulous nature of his plans indicated a level of intent and control that was deeply concerning. Dr. Turner emphasized that Brian had been grappling with severe psychological issues for some time, issues that had gone unnoticed by those around him. The trial that followed was one of the most talked about in Spokane Valley's history. The courtroom was filled with somber faces, reflecting the community's collective shock and disbelief. Prosecutors laid out a chilling case against Brian, presenting overwhelming evidence that included detailed plans, gruesome crime scene photos, and testimonies that painted a portrait of a deeply disturbed young man. The defense struggled to provide an explanation that could mitigate the horror of Brian's actions. Local journalist Sarah Mitchell captured the community's sentiments, describing how hard it was to reconcile the Brian they thought they knew with the monster revealed in court. Parents across the community began to question what they really knew about their own children, as fear and uncertainty gripped their hearts. As the trial progressed, former teachers, friends, and acquaintances of Brian came forward, expressing their disbelief and shock. Mr. Allen, one of Brian's former teachers, reflected on how Brian had always been a quiet student who never caused trouble. It was hard for him to believe that Brian was capable of such violence. The courtroom atmosphere was tense, and the impact of the evidence presented was palpable. When the judge finally delivered the sentence, sentencing Brian to life in prison without the possibility of parole, the Cohey family was left devastated. They had lost their son in the most unimaginable way, a way that left them grappling with a profound sense of grief, guilt, and confusion. Jane and John Cohey's struggle to understand and cope with their son's actions was profound and all-consuming. Their lawyer, Mr. Michaels, spoke about the deep wounds the family was grappling with. Jane and John could not fathom how the son they had loved and raised could commit such a heinous act. The community's reaction was mixed, with some people offering support and others being judgmental. The Coheys continued to seek answers and solace, but the pain of their loss was deep and enduring. They were living a nightmare that no parent should ever have to face, and the path to healing seemed fraught with insurmountable obstacles. In the aftermath of the trial, the community of Spokane Valley came together to support the Cohey family and to remember the victim, Andrew Watkinson. Vigils were held, and efforts were made to raise awareness about mental health and the importance of early intervention. Community leader Mr. Reynolds emphasized the need to ensure that such a tragedy never happened again. Programs were developed to help identify signs of mental distress in youth and provide the necessary support before it was too late. The community's response was a testament to their resilience and their commitment to preventing such horrors in the future. The case of Brian Cohey serves as a grim reminder that sometimes the most horrifying secrets can be found in the most unexpected places. For the Cohey family, the discovery of their son's dark side has left a lasting scar, one that may never fully heal. Jane and John, as well as the community, continue to grapple with the shock and grief of what happened. This story of hidden darkness, parental heartbreak, and a community forever changed underscores the importance of staying vigilant and connected. It reminds us all to look for signs that might reveal a troubled mind before it's too late. This documentary, detailing the tragic and disturbing case of Brian Cohey, aims to serve as a reminder of the importance of mental health awareness and the impact of unchecked darkness within our communities. Together, we must work towards a safer and more understanding society. Thank you for watching. This has been an exploration of the heart-wrenching events surrounding the Cohey family, a story that continues to resonate deeply with those affected. The lessons learned from this tragedy are invaluable, urging us to remain attentive and compassionate towards those who may be struggling in silence.